Good morning, viewers. Welcome to yet another edition of Morning News, where we bring you a rundown of what is in our local press and also what we have on our online news platforms. My name is Nicole Madziwa, and joining me is my lovely co-host,
Marvelous Chibagidi, and this program is brought to you courtesy of TechMag TV. And what's in our daily news this morning is a headline which reads, ED lashes at his advisors.
Still on the daily news, it reads, more economic pain for Zimbos.
Moving on to the news day, it reads, Minister fingered in machete wars.
Going to the Herald, backlash, customers rebel against Econet promo.
African solidarity cheers Zimbabwe.
ED receives top Ugandan honor.
And also, remember, we've got an online platform where we give you the news, and this can be accessed at www.technomag.co.zw. And on Technomag this morning, we have the headline which reads, Porters donate state-of-the-art computer lab.
Still on Technomag, no access to internet for 67 Zim post offices.
And also from Technomag, breaking, Cabinet approves cyber security bill.
And lastly, new features for WhatsApp. Those were the news headlines in our local papers and also on our online news platforms. And now for the news in detail.
So from the Daily News, the leading story which reads, ED lashes his advisors, accuses them of leaking information, challenges them to resign. A recent accurate report and the Daily News on the deliberations of and the goings on within the Presidential Advisory Council Committee, PAC, caused President Emmerson Mnangagwa to blow his gasket, and a development which left the high-profile councillors stunned. Well-placed sources told the newspaper yesterday that the normally laid back Mnangagwa tore into his advisors and angrily asked them to resign if they were not happy with him and his government's response to the country's myriad political and economic challenges. This followed an explosive meeting in which he accused some of them of leaking confidential information, which is recently published in the Daily News. So who's going to be advising him now?
I don't know.
But they're still there.
But
well, at least they're still there. But we know, like the Daily News has reported, he has challenged them to resign
if they're not happy with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we can only wait and see how that is going to go. Good luck, Mr. President.
But don't you think his anger is misdirected? Like, I think the pressure is mounting on the president. Now, when certain things are happening with him and people around him, then he's just panicking, and there's just a lot going on for him.
But all in all, there's no place for snitches anyway. So you can't be snitching on the president. So anyway, still on the Daily News, more economic pain for Zimbos. Zesa Holdings has announced shocking plans to hike power tariffs in the country every month and in line with prevailing foreign currency exchange rates. Speaking to the Daily News last night, economists said the move would worsen the desperate plight of ordinary Zimbabweans, as it would result in even higher prices of basic goods and services. Zesa's latest announcement comes hardly a week after it hiked tariffs by a staggering 583%, which has seen the power utility now charging an average of $20.50 for 50 kilowatts per hour, up from $3.
But then we don't have the ZESA anyway.
Of course.
But okay, we're paying for the time that we have it, and we understand. So, brace yourselves, Zimbabweans. ZESA is coming for you. Ready or not, the price hike in electricity is coming. So from the Newsday, the headline reads, Minister fingered in machete wars. And this is from the Newsday, and this is the story. State Security Minister Owen Ncube has been implicated in the often violent Mazoe illegal mining activities that have seen youth gangs, popularly known as Mashurugwi, engaged in machete wars over gold that have many people dead or injured. Most of the Mashurugwi reportedly come from the Midlands province, where a minister, a close ally of President Emmerson Mnangagwa, hails from. Newsday is reliably informed that villagers from Mazoe last Wednesday implicated Ncube, claiming the often violent artisanal miners have been boasting that they were linked to the minister and were untouchable. Wow.
Well,
So because of their link to the minister, then they're saying they're untouchable.
of course. But these Mashirugwi people are Nitsa.
Remember, we actually did we did a story on them. Like last time, I remember we actually read a story on these people, Mashurugi, but it still continues. The war between Mashurugi and the villages in the Masoi and the Midlands area still continues.
Well, moving on to the Herald, backlash, customer rebel against Econet promo. I'm not sure, we were actually laughing about this yesterday when one of our colleagues, just opened, joined, they downloaded their Sasai and they opened it, and everyone in the office got a notification that XYZ is now on Sasai and they're using Sasai. So people are actually particularly not happy about that, because if you have like 200 people in your contact list downloading Society, that means 200 text messages non-stop. Anyway, so the Herald here reads, in a development that could redefine the relationship between consumers and various service providers, Econet subscribers made an unprecedented uproar against unsolicited messages from the company advertising its newest product, the Sasai app. Sasai is a chat and payment application seen by technology enthusiasts as a challenge to the dominance of WhatsApp in Africa. It had always been assumed as part of terms and conditions that mobile phone service providers send messages promoting products and services, and there were no complaints, at least not in a deluge. But yesterday customers rediscovered their voice. So like we said, it's a little bit annoying, to say the least, because it keeps on coming and coming and never stops.
Actually, one of my contacts simply put up a WhatsApp status and saying, am I the only one who's getting these notifications?
Of course, and Twitter was crazy yesterday, from yesterday actually till today, because it's actually haven't received one yet. So that's a good sign, maybe, or not. No, maybe no one has downloaded the app yet. But anyway, back to you.
And thank you to all viewers who are watching us live on our TechMac TV platform. Brian Malone Kaskwa, very good morning to you. And he says, Zatanga, bit by bit before the bridge falls down. I'm sure this is for the first story that we read about ED and his advisors. And then Alex Douglas Moore, very good morning to you. And he says, good morning, team. So, and moving on from the Herald, the story which reads, African solidarity cheers Zimbabwe. And the story reads, Zimbabwe has survived the illegal sanctions imposed by Western countries for 20 years because of political and material support received from fellow African countries, including Uganda, President Mnangagwa said yesterday. Speaking at the 57th anniversary of Uganda's independence, here where he was a special guest, President Mnangagwa reiterated his government's desire to deepen relations with African countries, and I quote, Zimbabwe is a country in transition. We are under sanctions for 20 years, he said. However, because of solidarity and support, political and material from our sister countries like the Republic of Uganda, we still survive. That was the president. But help me understand how these sanctions are illegal.
That's the part where we never get to, unfortunately.
And he says Zimbabwe is a country in transition. How are we a country in transition after 39 years of independence?
Yeah, we're still transitioning. It's only buying time, actually.
Sure.
That way we look forward to seeing something that may actually not happen. So still on the Herald, ED receives top Ugandan honor. So this is when he was there?
Okay.
Yeah. So President Mnangagwa was yesterday accorded the highest honor in Uganda of the Most Excellent Order of the Pearl of Africa, the Grand Master, by his counterpart, President Yoweri Museveni. The honor was given to President Mnangagwa in recognition of his contribution to the liberation of Zimbabwe and other Southern African countries, and continued efforts by the head of state to improve the lives of his people.
I honestly don't want to comment on this.
Yeah.
On this.
I mean, the story says it all,
I do not want to comment at all. UZ doctors abandon strike. This is a story running from the Daily News. University of Zimbabwe consultant doctors who temporarily withdrew their services from the institution in solidarity with pediatric surgeon Bothwell Mbuayesango and consultant cardiothoracic surgeon David Chimuka, who had been suspended on Tuesday, have resolved to go back to work. The decision to withdraw their services had been made in a meeting held by the doctors at Parirenyatwa Group of Hospitals yesterday, where they resolved that government should reinstate their colleagues. The Zimbabwe Medical Association, Zima, last night confirmed the decision to reinstate the unsuspended duo. Senior consultants at the University of Zimbabwe are not on strike and will make everything possible to ensure continuity of teaching. This is from the Daily News. So they have gone back to work.
So still on the Daily News, diabetes patients in quandary. I have never heard of that word in my entire life. Okay, Zimbabweans with type 1 diabetes are in a quandary after insulin prices went up, forcing patients forcing patients to ration their doses, in the process risking their lives. The different types of insulin are now over $300, with protephane pens sets costing an exorbitant $345 for a month's supply, while patients on medical and sometimes only have to settle on medical aid, sometimes only have to settle shortfalls for insulin. Those without medical aid cover have resorted to reducing their doses as they cannot afford to buy.
Wow.
This is bad.
Very.
I mean, how do you ration your dose?
If you're supposed to inject 20 milliliters of insulin, then you inject 10, so that at least the 20 lasts you 2 doses.
That's bad.
Still on the Daily News, Chamisa disbands MDC wards. MDC leader Nelson Chamisa has moved to restructure the party by disbanding its ward structures to merge them with branches to bring it closer to the people, as resolved at the opposition party's Congress in May. The party's organizing secretary Amos Chibaya told the Daily News yesterday that the move was prompted by the realization that the country's biggest opposition party was top-heavy. In a quote, in the previous arrangement, the party was top-heavy and bottom-light, where we had senior officials who are not in touch with the grassroots, hence the decision to do away with the ward, Chibaya said.
Still on the Daily News, lack of IDs major challenge in Manicaland. Home deliveries among apostolic sects that are dominant in Manicaland province are the major reason most children in the region do not have national identity documents, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission has revealed. Without birth records from healthcare centers, many apostolic sect members' children are not documented and remain stateless. ZHRC Vice Chairperson Ellen Sitole told the media at the commencement of the public hearings on the National Inquiry on Access to Documentation in Zimbabwe in Mutare on Monday that without birth records, the process of acquiring birth certificates, national identity cards, citizenship, death certificates, and passports becomes cumbersome. But I think it's even cumbersome for even those with birth certificates, especially on the passport issue. But oh wow.
Still on the Daily News, we won't block ex-G40 members, ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF will not be vindictive against its supporters who were previously linked to the vanquished G40 faction during its restructuring of Harare and Bulawayo provinces, party political commissar Victor Matema-Danda has said. Matema-Danda's remarks came and claims that some party officials who worked tirelessly to block President Emerson Mnangagwa from succeeding the ruling party's late former leader, Robert Mugabe, was seeking to bounce back through the back door during the reconstitution of the dissolved Harare Provincial Executive. So are they going to make peace? That's what we want to know. But anyway, I think that's a step. Them saying that they won't block the G40 people from the G40 function. I guess that's a step.
Of course. Moving on to the news day, ZANU-PF MDC shoot down church proposal. And the story there reads, the ruling ZANU-PF and the opposition MDC have shot down proposal by churches that the country suspends elections for 7 years to pave way for political and economic reforms under the new structure of government to usher free and credible elections. The Zimbabwe heads of Christian denominations made the proposal on Tuesday, arguing that a 7-year sabbatical from elections would address the current political paralysis and deepening mistrust and polarization. The churches claimed the period of reform would stabilize the fast deteriorating economy and that has seen inflation gallop to nearly 300% in August, and unprecedented rise since the 2018 hyperinflation era. Okay, so all right.
But then how do we hold elections for 7 years when we're in this state?
Exactly. And besides, even how is it even done? Does it mean the constitution gets to be amended so that it suits that, or because it's a special, arrangement that everyone has agreed on in the country? Do you know what? Let's suspend 7 years of elections. So then how does it work legally?
And who will be ruling?
That's the thing, you see. And who chooses who rules? Because honestly speaking, we know everyone wants that piece of cake. But, who gets the piece of cake anyway? So it won't work.
A very good morning to Vanessa Choto, and a very good morning to Matilda Magwere. Thank you very much, Queens, for tuning in. And Vanessa is saying, Chada kwa chinyika ichi. And I'm sure that is in response to the honor that the president got from Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. And Matilda is saying, just like a company, to those who have the best interest at heart, it won't work. Simple.
That's deep. Thank you guys for tuning in and for commenting. This is you, yes?
And still in the news day, this story reads, politics dogs anti-graft body, ZAC. The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, ZAC, is facing an uphill task as it battles break deeply entrenched corruption cartels in government, which are allegedly using their vast networks in the judiciary, office of president and cabinet, and the anti-graft body itself to block investigations, insiders have said. The Justice Lois Matanda Moyo-led commission is reportedly in a fix over how to deal with crucial audit reports which exposed deep-seated corruption in government and parastatals, as it emerges that most of the funds looted ended in the hands of influential people in government and ZANU-PF. This is interesting.
And that is a bad spot to be in.
Exactly, especially when your surname is Moyo.
We're not mentioning any names, but if your surname is Moyo and you are leading a particular body,
which used to deal with corruption.
Okay, so moving on. Tuli tables ambitious revenue collection figures. That's another story from the Daily News. Is it the news day? That's the news day. It's the news day, actually. Treasury has tabled an ambitious 14 billion revenue collection targeted by year 2019, despite collecting a paltry 35% of that figure in the first half of the year. Revenue collections for the first half stood at 4.99 billion against a target of 4.1 billion, giving a positive variance of 20.2%. But Treasury is implying revenue collection will treble in the last half of the year, notwithstanding the tough economic environment obtaining in the economy.
Chile is making the headlines this week, and sadly it's not what the people want to hear.
Exactly.
Government clamps down on passports graft, and this is from the Herald. Government has directed the Registrar General's office to set up a committee that will oversee vetting of passport applications in a bid to eliminate corruption. The committee will be responsible for determining the applicants who should get passports, starting from those wanting to travel on an emergency basis. This was said by the Secretary for Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, Mr. Melusi Machia, in an interview with the Herald. He said the setting up of the committee followed unconfirmed reports that some applicants were being charged up to $200 by some unscrupulous officers to have passports quickly processed.
I like how our country, when you have a problem,
Sets up a committee.
I know.
You think like me?
Yeah, I know. It's
I was
like problem committee. What
But
solution?
then, like, we're going to need another Khalema Montlante.
Yeah, with recommendations and stuff. I mean, just fix the damn passports.
Yeah, we're going to need another Khalema Montlante commission to deal with passports in Zimbabwe. And then we get recommendations
And then we don't do anything about the recommendations. And then we say, recommendations are just recommendations. We take what we think is fit, and then we leave the rest. Actually, they just leave all the recommendations.
But can't have my passport. But then
Just.
like they're actually paying.
Yeah, they're
People are
actually
paying for their passports, so so I don't know, but anyway, we just hope that this will be fixed. But then I promise you, I don't think a committee is what we need. As much as I'm not a political analyst, I'm sure a committee is not what we need.
Because a committee will not get passports.
We just
That's the
need
thing.
the Registrar General's office to just be intact. Papers available, workers there, and people get their documents.
Okay, so still on the Herald, sanctions affect women, children, says ZANU-PF chair. As I was coming today in the morning, as I was in the car, now they have jingles for sanctions, my guy. You
I know.
you sing it, whether you want to or you don't. It's like Rambaima Kashinga in there. Anyway, so the story is the ZANU-PF Women's League yesterday held an anti-sanctions build-up meeting at the party headquarters in preparation for the anti-sanctions day scheduled for the 25th of this month. Addressing hundreds of ZANU-PF Women's League members, ZANU-PF National Chairperson, Comrade Opam Chinkuri Kashiri, said the country's detractors misled the world that the illegal embargo was targeted at leaders. So she's comes back to saying that sanctions affect women and children. They're not targeted, it's just meant for everyone. Everyone feels the heat.
Bioinformatics key for industrial growth. Bioinformatics research is the key enabler in generating information critical to turn the economic fortunes of Zimbabwe through implementing education 5.0 aimed at boosting industrialization in a sustainable manner, Harare Institute of Technology Vice Chancellor Professor Perkins Mweredzi has said. Bioinformatics is an interdisciplinary field of science. Bioinformatics combines biology, computer science, information engineering, mathematics, and statistics to analyze and interpret biological data. Professor Mweredzi was speaking on the sidelines of the ongoing second Bioinformatics Research Symposium in Harare, which kicked off yesterday with the objective of sharing the research that is going on in Zimbabwe and the region in the field of bioinformatics.
Still on the Herald, Youth League in bid to ensure food security. And the story reads, ZANU-PF League is set to engage provincial ministers across the country to secure underutilized land ahead of the 2019 to 2020 farming season in a move aimed at ensuring food security at household level. The youths are hoping to secure at least 2,400 hectares of land, which will be put under maize and small grains. Maize will be grown in provinces which receive a high annual rainfall, such as Manicaland, Mashonaland East, Mashonaland Central, and Mashonaland West. In an interview yesterday, ZANU-PF Deputy Secretary for Youth Affairs, Comrade Louis Matutu, said they are engaging provincial ministers and farmers countrywide to ensure they surrender underutilized land to the youth who want to work with volunteers to ensure Zimbabwe regains its breadbasket status.
We can only wait. and see if they'll actually get that land.
Yeah.
And this is the Herald Business, and it reads, inflation to drop by December, says Mutuli. Finance and Economic Development Minister Mtuli Ncube says Zimbabwe's monthly inflation rate will fall to 10% by December on account of the ongoing fiscal and monetary policy reforms. Under the short-term blueprint, the Transitional Stabilization Program, the Treasury chief expects to increase tax revenue, including the 2% tax, and instituted fiscal consolidation to cut budget deficit, and discontinued the use of the central bank overdraft window and private issuance of treasury bills to fund public expenditure. The minister has also, through the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, tightened monetary policy and restored local currency to give the central bank full leverage of monetary policy tools for inflation targeting and keeping money supply growth on a leash, among other objectives. So maybe this is the news that Zimbabweans were waiting for, and it says that inflation will drop by December. We're in October, so we've got the rest of October and November to wait to see the results, as Mutuli has said.
Wait, I have a question. Isn't this the same guy who said something about resigning in 6 months if something doesn't work? Or maybe I'm mistaking him for something. I don't know, but I remember it very well. But yeah, so people.
He says be patient. Remember when he came out with the policy reforms, he said be patient. But that's the other thing. Do you know how many policy reforms we've had in Zimbabwe? And I don't know if there's nothing to write home about.
No.
Regarding those reforms.
Nothing.
And some of them are only on paper but not in reality.
Exactly. So I've been saying.
Talk about what I know, like the media reforms, and I'll stop there.
Okay, so moving on to Technomag, which you can access on www.technomag.co.zw. Portras donates state-of-the-art computer lab. Telecoms regulator Portras on Wednesday donated a computer lab to Mashingo High School, which falls under the Zimbabwe National Army Schools Welfare Trust, as it aims to enhance access to ICTs in schools. The ZNA states the donation comes at an opportune time when government is aiming to equip schools with latest computer hardware. So that's pretty cool. And
some people, some tech people that we know, were saying it's not really a state-of-the-art.
Yeah, it's just
lab.
a computer
But anyway, would like to thank them actually, because at least the school now has a computer lab.
Of course,
that's the most important part, at least, so that they can be at least computer literate.
Exactly. So it's a step toward bridging the digital divide.
Yes. So still on our online news platform Technomag, no access to internet for 67 Zim post offices. 67 post offices in Zimbabwe do not have internet access, the bridge sector report for the second quarter has revealed. Portras has been working on bridging the digital divide between the rural and the urban areas around the country, but the deficit remains unfavorable. As the government is seeking to achieve 100% coverage in disadvantaged and undeserved areas, the gap is still there to fill. The post office remains under threat of electronic methods of communication. According to the report, the country has 219 post offices. Of these, 77 are in the rural areas and 142 are in the urban areas, and the postal density currently sits at 66,539, implying that there is one post office per 66,539 people. That's a lot.
It's a lot of people. Moving on, Cabinet approves cybercrime cybersecurity bill. The Zimbabwe Cabinet has considered and approved the Cybercrime, Cybersecurity and Data Protection Bill, which was presented by Justice Minister Ziyambi. Speaking on behalf of Information Minister Monica Mchangwa, Minister of Industry and Commerce Mangaliso Ndlovu said the bill seeks to combat cybercrime and increase cybersecurity in order to build confidence and trust in the secure use of information communication technologies.
and you can go to our site at TechMake TV and on TechMake TV so that you can actually watch the full video, or also go to our YouTube platform TechMake TV so that you can actually watch the full video as the cabinet was approving the cybercrime bill. So now it's left to go to parliament and be debated and all of that. But yeah, that's what's going on. And remember that October is actually cybersecurity awareness month, and it's just a lot that has been going on in the country regarding that.
Exactly. So do remember to be kind to one another on social media, and also change your passwords, guys. You know, it's like your password is like a bubble gum. You don't want to chow it all the time, like for a very long time. It defeats the whole
Don't taste
purpose.
so nice.
Yeah, you won't. So I think that's what we had for you today. Do you still have anything?
No, that was all that we had for you. So from myself and my beautiful co-host and the crew behind the scenes, we do say have a marvelous one. See you tomorrow.